Cool. So we're sitting here with Ashley and Mark from Box.net. They deal with communications and social media. And we want to talk to them a little bit about Box and what you guys are doing for entrepreneurs and small businesses and all that type of stuff. I wanted to start out by asking a question that I asked Aaron, but I just think it's so neat, so I want to get a little feedback. The marketing that you guys do and what you've done with No SharePoint and Choose Cloud, how did that come about? Like, tell me the story of both of those campaigns, because I think they're so unique for an app in your position, you know?
Yeah, so the whole No SharePoint thing was about 2 years ago. We sort of made the full transition from focusing on individual sharing to businesses, mainly because we found that our users were naturally bringing Box into their business because there was just this void, right? You know, if you're a small business, you can't afford technology like SharePoint, but what we also found was a lot of companies that had SharePoint, their users were really unhappy and they just needed another way to share and manage their information. Yeah. And so we sort of, saw this trend and we thought, well, it's a little bit audacious, but when you're smaller, you can kind of get away with things like that.
You can be scrappy,
And I think our first billboard was maybe a year and a half ago, and it was Box versus SharePoint, take the challenge. And we challenged businesses. We said, come use Box. I think it was for 3 months. Yeah. And, if you don't like it better, we'll pay for the next 3 or 6 months of your SharePoint deployment or something like that. And so we had a bunch of people did that. No one picked SharePoint at the end.
Wow.
And we realized we'd kind of hit on something that people really could align themselves with. And on the one hand, it's Box versus SharePoint, but really it's just this new wave of technology, sort of versus the cumbersome
It's like
solutions.
Liberation almost.
Yeah, totally. And it was users picking their technology rather than them being handed technology. And so I think, we kind of saw that there was all this excitement around it. We've continued to push on SharePoint, but, we also wanted to make it more macro, and there are a lot of really cool cloud services, some of which we're integrated with, but others that, are just making work and life so much better. And so the Choose Cloud campaign was, we sort of saw that there was all this momentum, and we wanted to bring together, sort of the sum of the parts is greater than the individual companies, and we're seeing entire businesses, especially small businesses, running their entire companies in the cloud. So we thought we'd sort of, push forward with that momentum.
I think it's so neat from a marketing perspective to run those concurrent campaigns, because you have a positive message and then you have the message against the old school, and I don't. The reason I bring it up is because I don't think I've ever seen a company, a small app use that level of marketing at the stage you guys are at. I think it's just so cool.
Yeah. And the great thing about it is people really love the No SharePoint thing. They really get behind
it.
Even if they're Microsoft fanatics, they still love it and they think it's really fun.
Yeah, sure.
People just our shirts. I'm sure you've seen our shirts. People love wearing those. And then you had a little mini SharePoint rally at a conference you were at.
No, it's pretty crazy. People go to conferences and it's been great from a brand perspective, right? Yeah. Because, we've managed to sort of attach ourselves to as a SharePoint alternative or the company. Sure. We've actually met people who work at SharePoint at these conferences and they think it's very clever. So there haven't been any punches thrown yet. But but no, it's exciting and it's the versus SharePoint, it's I guess it's the negative one, but it's kind of what similar to what Salesforce did with No Software, where it was getting people excited about a new way.
Absolutely.
And so we think of it as less negative about SharePoint and more excitement for a new way of working.
So now tell me a little bit about small business. Most of the people that are following our trip and the emails that we're getting and tweets are just people that are right at the brink of starting a business or right before putting the idea from Sketchbook to market.
Yeah.
And they're looking at tools. They're trying to figure out a way to make business affordable. And what stories are you getting from small business users of Box.net, and how are they using it to empower their lives or their business or whatever?
Totally. I think that's why our freemium model is so cool, because a lot of times we have people just start out, we actually just upped the storage allocation, so now you get, 5 gigs of storage space free. We did that because we want people to really be able to experience our service in a pretty powerful and complete way. And then, there are lots of cool features and collaboration capabilities you get by upgrading. But what's awesome is if you're an entrepreneur and you want to get started, it takes 2 seconds to have an account. You don't have to give us credit card information, And then once you get used to Box and you know, maybe your company grows and you need more users, or you're sharing externally and you need some certain level of security or permissions, we see a lot of people upgrade. And it's really exciting that, you know, we can sort of like deliver on it's the product that's driving, you know, our customers, and not because we're calling people and we're selling them, or, you know, so that's really exciting. And we get some, I mean, just across sectors, we have so many cool nonprofits that are using Box.
I've seen that. I see one of them, our client, GH&I, they use it, and they use it, and they have people in Kenya, Ethiopia, and China, in Geneva, and they use Box to coordinate all that and collaborate.
That's awesome. No, so we love that we're able to price things so that, you know, even a nonprofit can use the service pretty affordably. So,
and I guess last question. One thing that I love that you guys do is you actually engage with your community, and you've been doing it for a long time, because we've been on board for a couple years now, and since day one, I mean, people were engaging and looking for stories and all that. How does that play into, as a business? I mean, that just creating and generating that content, capturing stories, and engaging with your community. How do you do that effectively? What's your way of doing that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's organic, so you know,
we really try to be really responsive to people on Twitter, Facebook. You know, we like
to hear that you respond to almost every tweet and all that.
Yeah, I really try to be responsive. People really love that. They also love, you know, on Facebook, even if they give us praise or they give us feedback, we honestly take that into account. And you know, our product marketing team is right there, so we can share ideas with them. That's basically just being responsive. Really, people like to share their stories about how they use Box.
And do you guys actively, I mean, I see, obviously I subscribe to the newsletter, so I know that you have that section of like stories from business. Do you actively go after those, or people reaching out to you, or is that a part of your kind of marketing communication?
It's sort of a combination of both. When people come to us with an interesting story, you know, a lot of times we ask them about it, they'll be very comfortable, you know, sharing with us exactly how they use Box in their business.
Yeah. I mean, we're always looking out for cool use cases too. The awesome thing about Box is it's so flexible, so people use it in such unusual ways, and so we try to capture as many of those different use cases as possible. But yeah, I mean, for instance, I think recently someone at Pandora replied to one of our newsletters and said, hey, you know, like, awesome, we have an awesome story. Like, one team started using it, and then all the other teams got, like, Box NB, and so it's spreading throughout our company, you know, and now, you know, so we know about that cool, like, viral use case, and they willingly, you know, because I think people are excited about good technology in the workplace, and the reason that we try to be so active with our users, at the end of the day, we're really focused on the end user, and I think that's what maybe makes Box and some of the other emerging cloud technology companies, you know, really successful with small businesses or companies where users are having to deploy their own technologies, that we're really focused on their experience, and so obviously communicating with them is a huge part of it.
That's cool. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for being with us. We really appreciate it, guys. I know I've said it probably 10 times in this interview, but we use Box.net. They're a sponsor of this project, but we've been using them for 2 years. If you're a small business or an entrepreneur and you need to collaborate at all with people that are not in your geographical area, that's the way we use Box. It's been unbelievable for us, and they do have a great freemium model, so you can get started for free. So that's it. That's our time with Box. See you guys later.